Sometimes, even when we really don't feel like it, acceptance is the only answer to the problem that we face. Fighting against the actuality of our current situation creates more and more individual suffering, mainly because it's rooted in us trying to avoid the presence or possibility of our own emotional pain. It's usually the case that letting go of the way we want something to be, allowing reality to be whatever it's going to be, leads to an increased sense of serenity and freedom. This is an extremely difficult thing to step into for many of the people who are working this type of behaviour change program. After all, if accepting the way things are was a skill we found easy to use, we probably wouldn't be looking for support in this area in the first place. So let's talk about radical acceptance. This is one of the better known skills of DBT, as it's bandied around in meetings and conversations about behaviour change on a regular basis. Unfortunately, in my opinion, many of the people who talk about radical acceptance have a limited understanding of how to actually practice it in real life circumstances. Radical acceptance is all about developing our ability to practice complete and total openness without the judgments associated with our activated stories to the facts of life as they currently are. This gives us the ability to practice something called mode management, in essence, regulating the parts of our personality that want to act in ineffective ways. We do this through the use of something we'll discuss at a later date called the Raven exercise. One of the more common misconceptions about radical acceptance is that the skill itself involves accepting things that are not facts in the situation we're currently struggling with. This is definitely not the case. Radical acceptance means accepting the facts and only the facts as they currently are. However, the concept of accepting the reality of facts, things that cannot be disputed about the situation in any way, can be difficult for us to understand. I know this is the case because it's exactly how it was for me, and primarily this was because I was rigidly tied to the stories associated with the active schema that was in my system being a fact. My rigidity to this way of thinking had me trapped in a cycle I found it hard to get out of, so trying to look at just the facts was an incredibly difficult thing to do, as I was dominated by my parts that were living in emotion mind. This is a totally understandable and completely valid state of mind to be in, and at the same time, dialectically speaking, it was driven by the negative emotional schemas in my system and the stories that were generated from them. These stories had me constantly reenacting the past over and over again, and when we're in a state of emotional activation, it can be extremely difficult to differentiate between what's actually happening and our story about what's actually happening, because we're looking at life through a filter of what's called confirmation bias. With radical acceptance, our story is completely valid. The emotions we're experiencing as a result of this story are also completely valid, as they are a real experience in this current moment. Radical acceptance means setting the story aside and accepting the facts of actuality, which, as we previously said, is not an easy thing to do. In DBT, the conceptual equation we use to remember the importance of radical acceptance is emotional pain minus acceptance equals emotional suffering. This is an extremely important thing to remember, as it pretty much sums up what we all struggle with when it comes to accepting things as they truly are in actuality. We have to work on accepting that pain cannot be avoided. It's nature's way of signaling that something is wrong. If we take a look at this from the aspect of physical pain, if we had the ability to avoid it and not feel it, you might think that it would be a good thing. However, if this was the case for you, it would be highly likely that you would die at a young age, as you could easily get yourself into dangerous situations that would probably cause you significant harm. In fact, individuals who are born with no sense of physical pain have very difficult lives, as they must constantly be vigilant so as not to harm themselves inadvertently. In principle, this is actually the same with emotional pain too. It's designed to draw our attention to something that's wrong, something that we need to accept is the way that it is, so we can make a decision regarding how we want to deal with it. Believe it or not, emotions, including those that are very painful, have functions that are critical for human survival. For example, the pain of grief causes people to reach out to find loved ones who are lost. Without it, there'd probably be no societies or cultures. No one would look after those who are sick, search for loved ones who are lost, or stay with people who can exhibit difficult behaviours to be with at times. Take some time to contemplate what it is that you need to accept, and see if you can differentiate between your story and the facts of the situation. description. Download the PDF at the bottom of the page attached to this video and use the worksheet that's provided in it to document the difference in writing. Then see if you can practice radical acceptance of the facts and only the facts of the situation that you're documenting. If you take a look around my YouTube channel and the pages of my website, you're going to find a lot more videos and handouts on this and many other things to do with dialectical behavior therapy and the skills training program. As always, if you like the content of this video, please subscribe to the channel, smash that like button and turn on those notifications for all the latest from me and the Liberation Place. I hope this video gave you some insight for what it means to practice radical acceptance. Thanks for watching, hope to see you again soon. Take care, be safe and be well.